Kia ora, e te whānau, the planting seeds whānau. I hope you guys are doing well with where you are, wherever you're tuning in from. It's a very much so a blessing to have you create the space and time for you to tune in. And the hope is always for something that you can receive. And have had some awesome kōrero with the sis who is sitting across from me. And her energy, her warmth, her passion, her story is something that I feel would be awesome for you guys to hear. And so, Carrie, nau mai ki tēnei kaupapa.
Ngā mihi, e te rangatira.
Feeling nervous?
Kei te tinoa mai.
Oh, man, like, we've had some delicious kōrero, you know. As soon as the camera's gone on, it's sort of like on in a little bit. And can you speak a little bit about what you're feeling? Because I feel there's people who might be listening to a podcast and they always get a lot from it and they might picture themselves in a seat, but then when you get in the seat, you get all the feels. So what are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, really, really hard case actually, because I was going about my life and then I saw my name next to being on a podcast with you, and I said to my sister, I know I'm naturally funny, I'm actually really funny, but I'm not video funny. I'm not radio funny, and which just cracks me up, right? Because we can talk for days and sit in wānanga and have conversations, and the moment the mic and the headphones and the camera's on, it's like, holy Rick, what the heck? Oh, now I'm out of my depth.
Come in, sis.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Let's reinvent you. You're going to walk out of this trailer and be like, who the hell am I?
And then I was saying to her, because he blimmin' interviewed Dr. Dai, Papa Mark, Rafeti Roy, and I was like, what the heck? There's the pros. Been interviewing the pros.
The great thing about that is I feel there's always inspiration, or there's role models, or there's influences, and it doesn't mean to say that people who have a kaupapa or have a following are the ones who are creating the most impact. I feel influencer is everyone. Everyone is influencing in some shape, way or form. So whoever I'm looking at is like, you're so inspiring. People might be looking at me like that. Then the person who's looking at me like that, someone's looking at them like that. And
that's
so
beautiful.
It's that dance between, I guess, our own perspective and also how we see ourselves.
Yes, perspective. Interesting thing, isn't it?
So you come from the Cape,
kōrero. Born and bred.
Can you talk about growing up in kōrero, or, because you're still there now with your whānau, right?
Yes, yep. So ki te taha o tōku pāpa, he uri tēnei no Ngāti Tuwhare Tōki kōrero no Ngāti Aoki. So, born and bred from the K, which I actually hated, for most of my life. Funnily enough, when I stepped into different spaces, or actually when I came home as a young mama, as a teen parent mum, and started to get to know myself in order to be the best possible mum that I could for my pipi, I realised the beauty in growing up under the maru of your maunga, with my awa, just a walk in the park across the road, how my whole life I had healing resources, the rauimi right there. You don't know until you've been through some things and worked through some things how much of a treasure that actually is. We also have a ngāwha waiariki, so which is commonly known to the kōrero community as the savage hoppers.
Savage has been there, man. That is elite. You got to have a key and everything to be able to get into that pool.
Yes. Well, I'm the key giver.
Oh, man, I'm glad you're on the podcast. I'll just give you a call now.
But and so the privilege in that, but not knowing that, that was just our bath. We were just off for a bath, and then going through life and realizing the rauemi we had at our fingertips to be able to help our whānau heal is what it then became. So much more than just a bath, but the reconnection to our whenua, our whakapapa, was the catalyst for healing of our whānau.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because I think about when we're in a space of not enjoying where we are, we're always thinking about where we would rather be. And and it makes it feel worse, you know, because of fantasizing about, it'll be mean to be there, I'd like to have that. And so we're looking at what we currently have, and it doesn't make us feel too good about things.
Yes.
But when we can flip that, as you've just said, around we have all the resources, we have all the taonga that support where we currently are within our journey, and pūtau waki maunga karanga mai, you know. It's so cool to be from a small place, and, you know, I only grew up down the road, Whakatane. And so these small towns have a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of opportunity because you're able to create some kind of impact in a meaningful way, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, as I stepped into, I suppose, becoming a bit more educated and learning all the statistics of kōrero, it was difficult to find, you know, the beauty in our pūrākau. There's so many things in our community that isn't promoted. It talks about our high meth states and our stats and our high unemployment rates. But actually, everyone comes in for our kōrero Christmas in the park. Everyone comes in for our free town pools. You know, like, kōrero is where it's at.
Yeah. So it's always, it's buzzy how that is the case that way. There's a lot of acknowledgement or hype around the negative things or the narratives.
Yes.
But it seems to be that way across the board, though. It's hard for us to acknowledge the good things or the positives, not just on a town perspective, but even within ourselves. You know, we can look in the mirror and we're looking at the insecurities.
Yes.
We're looking at our life and we're looking at what we would rather have. And so that kind of framework or narrative has just been so drilled into us. And I suppose what we're up to at the moment is just trying to unlearn that, eh?
Yes.
And is that being where you're at, or not, where you've probably been on that unlearning process? But was there a catalyst for you, sis, when it was like, man, I need to actually do the work?
Yeah. So I had quite a lot of childhood trauma, which led me into the youth liaison and having to have all of this troublemaking that I was doing, led me down some pathways that actually, as an adult, were never really my pathways. They were just my cry for help. But anyway, I looked like quite a nanakia tamaiti. When I became pregnant with my eldest son, my marangai, I promised him on our hospital bed that he would never know the trauma that I had suffered.
Was that something that was like did you say it out loud, or was it just,
yeah, it was just him and me left. I'd had a cesarean, and so all the whānau had gone by that point, and I promised him that he would not know that kind of life. That wouldn't be his life, which sent me on a mission to keep my promise. But the issue with that is that when you have so much subconscious stuff that you don't know how to work through, you have to make all of it conscious to be able to work through that. And so I didn't keep my promise to the full extent that I would have liked to, because my tamariki still saw some things that I wish I had have healed sooner. But I am, and everyone who knows me knows that I am a fierce and staunch cycle breaker of intergenerational trauma, which causes a lot of issues too. And I mean issues in terms of whānau who hate you because you're lighting the way on some dark whānau secrets. And so even getting to a place where I can now be in space with anyone, regardless of whether they like me or not, because I've learned to accept myself. That journey's been a long one. And also the great thing about that is that I learned early enough to allow my tamariki to tell me when I wasn't doing a great job. You know, and so that's been really good. My kids are very quick to pull me up or be like, because if you've been raised in chaos, then subconsciously you create the chaos.
Yeah.
And so I you know, have had to unlearn the yelling and the go-to violence. And if I'm like, my youngest son, who got the gentle parenting, is 14 now, my āraitanga will say, I'm standing right here, what are you yelling for? Just that level of calm, you know, it's like, oh, crap, got it wrong again.
But it also points to the environment that you have created for them to recognise the sense of perhaps projection of chaos that might not necessarily be in the same frequency as what you've experienced, but it sort of points to what you have created. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose because my journey meant that I was trying to heal, it also meant that I had a lot of my nieces and nephews, or ended up with a lot of my nephews and nieces while my whānau had the time to heal from meth addiction, or I'd take kids off my whānau if there was domestic violence in the home. So that starts a lot of fights. But also what I suppose I never realised at the time was that was less time that my own tamariki got. And so it was something that one of my sons, you know, we sat down and had this whānau wānanga, and I was like, what is the most traumatic thing that you've been through? And my second eldest son said, well, I've never had my own bedroom. And I'm like, well, if that's the worst thing you went through, I'm like cracking it at life. But it was a real thing for him. It was a real, this is not even a joke. I'm like, cracked it. No, we're done good. That's the worst thing that happened in your life. And he was like, I'm actually serious. This is the most suckful thing is I never ever had my own bedroom. So I got a little bit more creative. We have a whare in Rotorua where my boys are, because they went through Rotorua Boys High.
Neat.
And so it meant that I had my home in kōrero, and every time we've had to have whānau come through, it was never at the cost of my own tamariki anymore. But that took a long time, and so we've had that whare for the last couple of years where it's just my husband and my tamariki in the whare in Rotorua. And when either I bring whānau home from Aussie or whānau need to come and do some mahi, it happens in our kōrero whare. It's almost our whānau rehab.
Check out their creativity though, and also just the listening, you know, being able to open up that dialogue with your tamariki, and it's actually the feedback, you know, and it's not the my way or the highway, or this is just it, you know, it's actually the flexibility and being able to adjust. And I feel that is our role as mātua, as parents, or I guess this new wave of parents. And I only got young tamariki at the moment, but even just the sense of, you know, trying to tell my son what to do, or, you know, say certain do this or do that, it's like he's behaving in a way and I can't say change that. It's I got to change, you know, or my wife has to change. It's because he's only 3 years old. He can't. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's picking it up from us, or he's seeing it from somewhere. And so, again, I think the encouragement is our ability to be able to adjust as we need to continue to raise the base for our tamariki and provide that environment for them.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is we have these out the gate expectations of tamariki, or I see in my whānau a lot, like vaping is a real good example, or people who smoke have these big issues with their tamariki doing those things, when you're like, you did that their whole lives. You know, and I'm like, is the issue that they're vaping or smoking, or is it that you're all right because you're an adult and they shouldn't? You know, like our tamariki do what they see, not what we say. And so I'm like, that even that.
If you
like,
want them
the
to stop,
standard,
maybe you stop.
Yeah, like the standard, and just because I'm an adult, literally, like just that's why, because I said so. You know, like it doesn't even make sense.
Man, really feeling that fierce, strong cycle breaker that you are, Carrie.
Yes.
And so now we move, I guess, into, your Mahi space. And what are you doing for Mahi at the moment?
So I have a dual role. I am the general manager for Tātai Ora, which is a kaupapa Māori organisation. Mm-hmm. And then I also lead our Te Akamatua Wahine Wānanga.
Is that within your Mahi?
Yes.
So there's a Wānanga.
Yeah. So one of my good friends, Sashal Stush, started Tātai Ora. And so I came around to awhi in that space. But it was under the agreement that I didn't have to step away from my passion space. Because one of the things I think that happens for us as Māori is that we want to ensure people don't go through what we've been through. And so we want to help our whānau. I think you go through trauma and you want to help. The thing with that is that we also have to do our own mahi, and sometimes that gets a little bit lost. But the other side of that, I quickly realised that I couldn't work on the front line because I was busy doing front line with my whānau and then busy doing front line at work, just led to burnout.
Yeah.
And so I stepped into the management space, went into the leadership space so that I could step away from frontline at Mahi, and then I could pour all my focus into our whānau. And particularly because we go away and we get this education, or we go away and get all of these skills, and then we serve, we serve the hapori, and sometimes forget to come back and ensure that our own whānau have it. But I worked in education for 10 years for Anamata, Te Pūwānanga o Anamata, and one of the greatest teachings that I took away from there was to clean your own backyard. Like we're more valuable in spaces when we have actually started tidying up, and I suppose I took that literally. And started up, well, not literally because my backyard's a bloody mess. I need a gardener. But in terms of my whānau, I started, I suppose, speaking up about the things that weren't okay in our whānau, which wasn't our fault, but it's our responsibility to heal.
And how was that? Like, what were you feeling in knowing that, man, okay, you're now seeing it, ko taka te kapa, ko whiti mai te hinātore, and you're like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And so there's the knowing what you need to do, but the action part of it, it's really challenging, and I'm sure it's like you sitting on that chair, but times 100, probably so much more. And so what was that experience like, knowing that, okay, I need to make some changes, I need to have these conversations with my whānau, I need to pull things up if they're not right, I need to take my niece and nephew, like what were those kinds of things like? Never ever easy, and a really lonely journey. It's a very lonely journey when you want a different way, you don't yet have the ability to articulate it really well to your whānau in a way that will make them see. What I'm fortunate about now, though, is that more of my whānau, as we've gone on our healing journey, when things will go wrong, my whānau will be like, oh man, you need to sort out your niece, this is going on. But, the time for us to get there, arrive here at this place where I'm not coping, your niece is playing up or something, I'm not the person, that's your job. For our whānau to finally arrive there and be like, we were villagers. We actually, this whole concept of, if you know how much I'm failing with my children, then I'm a failure. That's learning for our whole whānau, learning that was never our way. We raised our tamariki as a village. Together.
You don't even need to struggle on your own. And just because I have a little bit more experience now, so I can help through that part, there's been massive mana motuhake in that for us as a whānau.
Wow.
And on the other side of that, you know, I'll be like, this is something that I don't even want to deal with, this is for you. But when it comes to our tamariki, or we have a huge battle with myth in our whānau, and many whānau, but I suppose we're a lot more spoken up about it. And also, by the time my cousins have arrived on my doorstep, I know they're ready.
Yeah.
Because I'm the cousin that you're like, don't tell Carrie.
Yeah.
Like,
so when they arrive,
Don't
they're taking their biggest step, because
Yes.
they know they're going to get either the awhi or mirror put in front of them, or whatever might come with that.
Or even, I think, something that's really cool about it, or even the appearance. You know, my auntie's been able to go like, this is not all right. I'm not really sure what to do about it, but, you know, can we do something? I think that's
just the opening the conversation, eh?
And really huge, because I think for the generation above us, we've been fortunate with the rauimi, and we have all of this mātauranga available to us, you know, the Mahi Atua Wānanga, all the beautiful things that are coming out now to help us, whereas the generation before us, not openly, and it was quite a shameful thing if you were struggling in any kind of way. So they just suffered in silence, whereas I feel like we don't need to do that anymore, and they're slowly realising, like, I'm struggling and can you guys help me? And it's not it doesn't need to be a judgment thing.
Yeah, shame doesn't need to be attached to that, eh?
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that you've found have provided the, I wouldn't say success, but a way where you've seen progress, whether it's whānau around myth or, you know, the struggles, like in your capacity to support, what has been the best thing that you have been able to notice about yourself in supporting whānau?
I think the realisation that the solutions are in our Māori resources. And so we wānanga everything now, you know, it's taken us a really long time to get to a place where it doesn't need to be a secret and it doesn't need to be a shame thing. It just needs to be, how do we all wrap around and find our place within going on this healing journey. And so the art of delegation, I think, too, having different po in different spaces. I have a sister who works in the system. We call it infiltrating the system, but it just means that everything that our whānau need to know at that system level, we have a direct line. And then also I have a sister who works in the funding space, and so in 2019 my sisters and I decided that we were no longer going to wait for the generation above us. We were going to wānanga with our first cousins. We were going to start healing ourselves, because if we waited any longer, well, we'd already wasted enough time. And so we started in my lounge. We started in my lounge in 2019, and then COVID hit. When we came out of COVID, we had a whānau wānanga again in my lounge. There was about 50 of us. We did another one. There was about 80 of us. And by this point, we can no longer wānanga in my lounge. Every single room in my house was packed to the hilt. So I had a sister who stepped into the funding space, and I was like, okay, so your role is to start writing whatever you need to write. Get us some pūteo because we need a marae.
Yeah.
And there was still so much mahi to be done. So in terms of getting whānau on board financially, you know, we still have mahi to be done.
Yeah.
So just getting a little bit of pūtea support from the services that we could just meant that we could move from the lounge into the marae space. And so that's what we do now. And we hold 3 wānanga a year.
As a whānau.
Yeah, as a whānau. And we address within ourselves the things that we need to address. And part of that journey too is that my kōrero was a composer. And so we didn't know him. He passed away when we were young, but his waiata tell us his pūrākau, you know, and so us all, my first cousins, connecting to our kōrero through his writings. Yeah, that's been a huge success for us as a whānau, because we didn't learn those waiata growing up, but our children will.
Yeah.
You know, and so they'll know our karaua because they would have known him their whole lives through learning his waiata, whereas we had
That's
to do that as
the healing
adults.
though too, eh? It's the sense of connection, it's coming back to aroha, it's the understanding, like man, because if all of those things hadn't happened in your life, or in your sisters or in your first cousins, then what you guys are going through at the moment wouldn't exist. And so, which is a shame. You know, it's a shame that, you know, whatever happened, but it's also a shame if this didn't happen in terms of what you guys are creating now as a whānau.
Tika.
And there was something that comes to mind, and it says, life happens for you, not to you.
Yes, 9D breathwork. Yes, we do 9D breathwork within our wānanga too.
Man, you fellas are doing it.
Yeah, we love that space.
And so you came into Mahi Atua at the start of the year. And how was it coming into these doors, and what even pulled you in?
I've worked in the sector for a long time. So for a long time I actually wanted to participate in Mahi Atua, but I hadn't worked in a space that would allow that. So it took me a little while to get into a space where I was like, right, I got to decide where we were going. I was responsible for training and development.
PD.
So I was like, February, here we go. So super exciting because I got to come with my whole team. We all came through in February, and I'd never experienced the wānanga like coming through these doors. I don't even know what I expected. So I must have come with no expectations. I just knew that it was something I wanted to learn more about, something I wanted to know more about. And I pursued a academic pathway for a little bit, just because in my career I was often training people who earned more than me because they came with the quals and I didn't, and so they quickly became hoha. So I went to go and, you know, put a few certificates on my wall to be able to ensure that that wasn't happening. I'm very solutions focused. But what I had never encountered, I suppose, was the mātauranga that we received walking through these doors in Rangi Parodi in February. And so just that, almost like my soul always knew, even though my colonised brain didn't. And so then you go on a journey of everything you now have to unknow.
Far out. It's that reconditioning. And that's quite confronting, eh? It's quite confronting to realise where we have been mentally in terms of whakaaro, the way we see things, and coming into a wānanga like this and hearing pūrākau. But the great thing, I suppose, about that journey, no matter what journey we've been on, because the mātauranga is always there, and it is a great reference. It's like, I've learnt this here, but man, we had the stories too. You know, we have the same learning, but it's just told in a way that we just get.
Totally. And I feel like too, the difficulty then became, you know, you're required in an academic space to prove that you know something by writing a 5,000 word essay on just rubbish. And I mean rubbish in terms of you have to say what someone else said without saying what they said. You know? And, oh man, that it just fries my brain. I'm just not that way wired. And so coming through this space and realising that's why, because that's not my space, you know, and so I can wānanga for days and I can stay in it and I can feel it within my whole being, and it speaks to my soul, because this is where I belong, you know. And so it took me from being, Whātina talks about the doctrine of discovery, you know, and we're wired to believe that we're dumb and we're stupid and all these things that we then are put through a school system to ensure we don't forget that, and then also into the same tertiary, you know. And so you come over here and you're like, oh, actually I was just in the wrong place the whole time. So I feel like that that is my way of learning, you know, and I don't have to try and make my brain fit here anymore.
It's already accepted, or it's already nurtured.
And it's, you know, it's the reframing or the healing space, you know, is what the tūpori ariki here in Mahi Atua is just, the healing is in Wānanga, and not because someone else is an expert in your story. You are, in fact, the expert in your story. But let's see if collectively there might be other things that we can offer.
Yeah, and something that you might be missing, because it's often within the speaking up and sharing things that you catch it, eh?
Yeah.
It's like you're having the wānanga internally, and then all of a sudden you're speaking with others, you might hear something someone said, and then you just catch it like, oh.
Yes.
And so it creates a totally different story about what you're telling yourself. Because that's what I've noticed around healing especially, is that it's our relationship to the experience. And so when we can learn something new, our relationship to that experience shifts.
Yes.
Which gives us a release in the emotions that need to be expressed, or it doesn't have the same kind of strain or pullback as it once did, based on our limited understanding of life at the time when things happened.
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like that's relevant to whāia dai, you know, because a lot of organisations, I suppose, that I work for wouldn't allow us to come into the space because she's a challenger.
Yeah.
That's not was ever told to me, but I came in and I met her and I was like, oh, that's why. Because I hadn't met her personally, but I do have a thing about know someone yourself before you decide that is the thing. And whereas I like her style, she's up the guts, and I can resonate with that. But I feel like probably if that's not your cup of tea, then that can often be where the struggle lies, where I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sold. This is it, you know, and she really challenges you to check your every whakaaro. Like, well, and is that even your belief? That's what I walked out of Rangiparori in February, questioning every single belief that I have and checking, is that even my belief? You know, that, and that is challenging. That's really challenging. Like, you react to something and then go, wait. Whereas in this space, they're like, shapeshift like Maui. You know, like, can I have another go? Like, I failed at that. Can I have another go? Just being in a space that is like, oh, we fail, and we fail all the time. Yeah, let's have, you know, I'm like, this is wicked.
But I'm just here, just catching on to every word, because I feel that's so beautiful in our journey of growth and deepening our understanding of self, is the feeling of being okay to go through your own process, and the journey of knowing that we have beautiful examples that are paving a beautiful pathway that we're a part of and that we're walking behind and with. And when we now sort of, I guess, move into, you know, February past, you've gone through that, and now you're in the space of Rangi Nui Kātika. Is that the next step? So there's Rangiparori, then Rangi Nui Kātika. Yeah,
they have some online wānanga, and I did go and do those too, because I wanted to retain the pūrākau, and I'm still learning in that space. But Rangi Nui Kātika came out, which is their first leadership development. And so, oh man, we had a little bit of a, you know, taukumekumi in our work whare about who was going to get to do it, and we run our own wānanga. So when we lined up all the dates, I was like, oh, it looks like I'm the only one available. So I just drew the great straw as well, because we all wanted to do it. One of the requirements was that you had to have done Rangiparori. Man, divine timing, because we'd only just done it when this opportunity came up. And so, everything else went out the window after that, and I got to do Rangi Nui Kātika, and hopefully there's another opportunity for our
others. So is that another wānanga Rangi Nui Kātika, or is that the online component that you're saying?
No, the online component I think is Rangi Matawai, which is just 16 weeks of the pūrākau.
Yeah,
gotcha. So you get to keep it fresh, and so that's amazing. It was brought out during COVID, I think, so that people could still capture that. But what I know about myself is that I couldn't actually connect to any of the pūrākau
Unless,
until I had,
yeah.
I'd come through this space. And then because I had done that, I could go through and...
Because you can connect to the Māori of it, eh?
Yes,
Yeah,
and you've already got a little bit of a, you've grasped it a little bit. So you're just going back to, I suppose, be able to connect and retell it in a way, because the pūrākau is for when you work with whānau, and just to take away the judgment of whatever's happening for them in their homes, but connecting it to here's our stories. And I think that I find it really powerful too, because some of the pūrākau I heard the first time, you're almost like, far out, even our God's got it wrong. It's all right.
Yeah.
We're all out here failing.
But it's cool to be able to relate to things in that kind of way, though, and to see some of or to hear of, the things that you've gone through, what you're already doing, and how this kaupapa has enhanced that, and all the other things that you're doing. What is it for, in terms of what is that thing that continues to inspire you, or what's that purpose, or what's that thing that you're looking to achieve or attain?
Yeah, I think that's really easy, because I try to live and breathe Mokopuna Decisions, and still to this day, my promise of my promise to my son then became, I suppose, my promise to the generation to come, that we at least had tidied up some things, so that life will never be as hard for them as it was for us, and if we soak up as much mātauranga as we can, then we'll be more helpful to them than harmful. I think one of the difficulties with it, though, is that I really love the kōrero. You can get stuck in, we're meant to be human beings, but you can get stuck in being human doings. And that really trying to balance it out, because you want to soak up all the mātauranga, you want to ensure that you're a good ancestor, a good parent, you want to ensure all of those things, but doing it in a way where you don't burn out on the way. That I feel like has been the journey, and I think that's one of the great kōrero that Whānau has around, just check yourself. Like they have a ORS that they use here in Mahi Atua, just to really check in on yourself. And I do it at home, but when you come here and you hear it with the pūrākau, and you really do check in with yourself, like I might score myself as a 9 or da-da-da-da, and then Whānau will tell a pūrākau around it, and I'm like, sheesh, I'm actually just a 5. And I'm like, wait a minute,
high achiever.
Everything's a 9 because there's always room for improvement, and then really you're like, oh no, actually I'm definitely only a 5 now that you've told this.
Well, there's something within your mental model that's making you think a 9, though.
Yes. We're aspirational.
Yes. I'm here for it. And like the other thing that that comes to mind is, as you're sharing your kōrero, there's so many cool things that come from just listening to you. And there's the kōrero around Mokopuna Decisions, around being a great tipuna. There's the whakatauki that I heard some time ago now, and it was he mokopuna ahau, he tipuna ahau. So it's in the same sentence, you're a descendant and an ancestor. And the kōrero around burnout, that is so true for many whānau, because we feel torn and we're trying to be the best parent, best partner, mahi, our own things that we've got going on, and so we can feel like we aren't doing enough, and then we reach that pinnacle point where we just collapse in a way of energy depleted. And what's helped me, I suppose, within my journey of acquiring balance, or working towards that at least, is being aware of where I currently am within my journey, rather than having the expectation of being like 5 steps ahead, because that's where I'm trying to, I should be doing more, but really I'm doing what I need to do right now, and that's enough. And so it's just ticking the boxes and trusting that those small steps over time will eventually get to that next stage rather than rushing to step 5 when you really should just be at step 2. You know, it's the managing of where you currently are in the journey relative to where you think you should be.
That is a really beautiful kōrero, and it makes me think about the tūhoe whakatauki, he iwi tā uki uki, which is our history, like our future, lies within our children and their children. And you know, that's such a powerful, I feel like often I try and have that as my reminder, because while you're trying to trailblaze and be a blimmin' cycle breaker, you also have to remember that if you're too tired and grumpy all the time, then the stories are just going to be like, yeah, Auntie was just grumpy all the time. True. So I'm like, pause, don't be the grump, you know. I feel like I've done all right in that when things happen, you know, my nieces and nephews will always come to me, despite whatever it is. And most of the time the convo opens with, I don't think you're going to like what I'm about to say, you know, and I'm like, yeah, be really present to that, because you worked hard to get to a space where they will, you know, and so I love that whakatauki in terms of
far out. You're just doing it, man, because it's one thing to say something, but it's how you actually show up towards that something, and it's those humbling moments that matter the most, that help you catch yourself. And you know, I've just got flashbacks of, you know, whether I'm scrolling too much and my tamariki are playing, or, you know, Hinepani is trying to talk to me and I miss what she says because I'm on my phone. It's like, it's those things that come to mind for me that I know I need to work on in order to be that papa or that partner that I know I can be, because those are the moments, you know, those are the moments, but the addiction
totally
is there. So I just want to pass it over to you, sis, because we've had a beautiful kōrero, and there's someone on the end of this episode that is just resonating with your story, things that you've been through, maybe being in a small town, gone through challenges in life, have got a big heart to want to be able to change things for themselves and also for their whānau. And so for someone who might be within that space and you feel there may have been words that you could have heard at a time in your life, just want to pass the mic over to you. Kia whakakapi e nei kōrero.
I think probably don't lose who you are is always my kōrero around trauma. Has the ability to make you believe you're not good enough, and I feel like that's its whole purpose. You know, if we remember Whaitina's doctrine of discovery, it's the whakapapa to that kōrero was to ensure that you never forgot that you weren't good enough. But in our journey to healing, we need to remember that we're good enough, because the journey is lonely, but those who need to be on your journey will come. And that the inspiration will come from even those who may feel like they're pathway blockers, they will realise and they will come. I think one of the things we forget, though, is that we want to hurry the process. So come, and our whānau aren't going to come. They'll come in their own time, and not because you told them to come, but because they watched you. They watched you light the path. And so my thing is, light the path. Keep moving forward, because we need as many of our whānau to do that as possible. And even when it's lonely, our tipuna are with us. I
feel what you've shared is just so great to finish this episode with, because we do want others to feel even just a bit of what we experience when we have a breakthrough or a sense of healing. And it can be disheartening or disappointing at times when they don't meet you, even when you know they need it. And you sharing that around just like the path, because they won't come because you said, but they'll come because of the example you're setting. So it's be the example, be the change, and just trust in yourself, because you are worthy, ne?
And be the light. And, you know, I really, 9 deep breath work again. In Diaries, I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light.
Damn. Let's go. That's a whānau. Carrie, tēnā koe o tira kia koutou e te whānau. Tēnā koutou. Yeah. Oh, come on now. Come